The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. We are back. New York Mets in the zone. I'm Ralph Tyko, the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. And Barn is back. Last week, 2 weeks ago, Bernie Rose joined us, great Dodger fan, and a New York Met fan as well, on a lesser level, I might add.
Yes, you might.
Much lesser level, but I'm going to ask you, Barn. The Mets and the Dodgers just played a lot of games together, and we know what happened. Do you see any bright spots for the Mets? Was there anything that impressed you? And was there anything that particularly turned you off to the Mets as they stand today? Bernie Rose.
Well, I don't know that anything turned me off. Their pitching actually seemed to be a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I'd probably get some agreement there. These games were all close except for the 14-4 game. Really.
Right.
The Mets hung right with them for 6 of the 7 games. Well, they won the 7th game. So, I mean, they just can't hit in the clutch, and that's what they're going to have to address. And I know you're going to be leading up to that.
Well, I am, and some of what they have to do to address it is just recover from injuries. And Robert Cole is with us, and you have a theory about what's going to happen when they do recover from injuries regarding Lindor and Baez. Robert.
Yeah. Okay, Baez made his return yesterday. Had a couple of doubles. He was hustling. You know, he added a little spark. I know he got the announcers all excited, about how he brought spark to the team. Lindor is going to come back either tomorrow or Wednesday. The two of them have been practicing together. Baez is in his contract year. Okay, I'm sure Lindor would love to have him sign with the Mets. And I think the two of them are going to spark a run. Okay, now they're 7 games behind with about 40 games left, something like that. And 7 games is very difficult to make up at this stage of the season. And I have a feeling that they're going to come close and we're going to get our hearts broken again. But I do see the two of them sparking the team, and that's going to cause some questions going into next year.
Okay. Do they sign Baez? Marty, what do you think?
That's tough. We don't know what he wants. If he is looking for something similar to what Lindor got, that's not going to happen. No chance. But if they do sign him, then what happens to McNeil, who's not a free agent for a few more years? I don't like McNeil at third base. And so something has to give there, unless they trade McNeil, which is always a possibility. But then they're going to need a third baseman because J.D. Davis is not a good defensive third baseman either. But as far as your question about Baez, I think they probably could sign him, but I don't know what he wants. That remains to be seen.
Would have it been easier to sign, say, a Bryant instead of Diaz and keep McNeil at second and put Bryant at third? Would that have been an easier transition? or does it make too much sense in Metsville?
That would be very good, actually.
It's too bad they didn't get him at the trading deadline.
Right.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Bon, we have you, and I want to address a social problem with in the United States of America, and this is in regards to Roger Bauer, who was accused of some heinous behavior. No question about that. But as it turns out, I don't know if money played a factor in this, but they're having a hard time making some of those charges stick, and baseball has already taken action. Now, it's a good idea when there's a domestic dispute to take action, but when is it appropriate? Let me ask a former police officer this, Robert Cole.
Yes, sir.
You understand what I'm getting at here?
Yeah. See, things have flipped. Okay, in the past, okay, the famous person, the athlete, was given the benefit of the doubt,
Right.
and now it's sort of changing that initially the athlete is in the wrong right away. The Trevor Bauer thing, you threw me off when you said Roger Bauer. I was trying to figure out who that was.
I knew a guy named Roger Bauer in Sacramento who was a sports collector, and my brain only works 50% of the time. So just that I got the Bauer right, I'm happy about that. And let's see how you guys do at 75. How about that?
I'm not the baby anymore because Bernie's here. So.
Hey,
there you go.
But
it's just. I think it was handled properly. You jump on it right away. You check on things. He says so many things, and he's been so outlandish. And he's also tweaked the commissioner and kind of, been a bug in the commissioner's ass. So, maybe this is a little bit of payback.
Right. I appreciate that. Barn, you have more of an insight as to what they're thinking inside the Dodger clubhouse than we do, just by the nature of the beast. You're a Dodger fan.
Yeah. Well,
what's going to happen with the players if he comes back?
That's a good question. They don't like him. From everything I've heard, and Mert and I talked about this briefly the other day. I think we did. The players don't like him. When you watch him pitch and you watch his mannerisms, I don't know that anybody likes him. I didn't really like him. I wanted him to win, only because he had a Dodger uniform on. I was curious to why they went after him in the first place. And then once I found out about he had some issues, and yet they still went after to get him, when in fact, if you looked at his stats, I'll get off point for a second, prior to the COVID season, he never had a season like he had last year, and last year was only 60 games. They gave him all that money for a 60-game, resume.
Against the Central Division. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he pitched well. He was up in all the categories. He actually pitched well. And they didn't hit for him all that much. He was actually pitching pretty well. But he never deserved that kind of money. And then in the end result, with nobody really wanting him there, and now they've got Scherzer, they don't want him back.
But would they accept him? They don't want him back, but would they accept him if they were forced to?
Probably. You would think, wouldn't you? I mean,
yeah.
It wasn't his talent. He pitched well enough. You know, he was right up there in strikeouts. He was first or second when he got hurt. He might have been second. He was right up there in innings pitched. He might have been one or two. And he had wins. He would have had more. They didn't really hit for him all that much, like they were hitting for Urias. And even Buehler would have 2 or 3 wins more. A couple of his only losses, they didn't hit for him. But they would take him back, I would imagine.
Barn, who impressed you in the Mets series on the Mets? One guy, if you had to say, that maybe surprised you.
Well, Alonso. Yeah. If I look at some of the pitchers, I might throw a couple of names out there. And Alonso stepped up. You know, he's not having a great year average-wise, but he certainly, got the home runs, and he's hitting, enough for runs batted in. You'd think with 30 home runs he might have some more, but the Mets have had a tough year. But the pitchers, I was definitely a little surprised that some of the pitchers looked as good as they did.
Yeah, the relief pitchers especially.
Right. But even who was the guy 2 days ago? I'm trying to remember all the names. Well, Stroman pitched well. Stroman's been good enough, and I thought he could pitch well.
You might be thinking of Billy the Hill McGill.
Well, Mert and I saw McGill in Florida. He didn't impress me so much in the first inning. But
that was his worst game, though. I mean,
I know. I'm just kidding.
He pitched well against the Dodgers.
Yeah, he did, and he settled down in that game in Miami after that. It was.
Mm-hmm.
Their pitchers looked pretty good. The relief pitchers. I mean, everybody was looking pretty good. The Dodgers did not score a lot of runs in this 4-game series.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Assuming that what Robert says is right and they make a run for it and they impress with their talent, I'm going to ask you all individually, who do they for sure keep and who do they for sure give away or let go? And I guess I'll start with Conforto. What do you guys think about re-signing him, chalking this year up to an aberration, and maybe giving him a 1-year contract? What do you think, Robert?
Well, the question they're going to have to answer is, do you tender him or not? Okay, this year the tender will probably be between 18 and 20 million. And I don't think they're going to talk long-term with him right now unless it's a very favorable contract. I don't think he's going to get a very favorable contract elsewhere off of this season. And so they have to decide, if they tender him, chances are he's going to accept it. And, do they want to do that? Because some of the reasons why people say he's having a bad year is that he was concerned about his contract, moving forward. Well, if he's on another 1-year contract, is he going to react the same way? So that's a real question they have to answer.
Okay. Overall, he could be the second best player on the team, third best maybe, Lindor and Alonso, when he's right. So it's a big decision. Marty, what do you think?
Well, with Boris as his agent, I doubt he's going to take the qualifying offer if it's given. I definitely would not give him a long-term deal. I might offer him the qualifying deal for the 1 year. But I think Nimmo. If it comes between the two of them, I like Nimmo a lot. I really like Nimmo a lot, and he's not free till next year. I'd look to sign him now in this coming off season, so he doesn't.
To a long-term deal. I
would if he takes it. I would offer him that. But Conforto, Conforto's been hurt a lot. He's had serious shoulder injuries, and I just wouldn't give him a long-term deal at this point. No.
Okay.
I'd probably agree with
what
that.
About, I know. Oh, pardon me. I interrupted you, Marty.
No, that was Barnes.
No, that was me, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Talking about what you asked me a moment ago, Nimmo stands out. He's got great excitement for the game. He gets a walk and he runs up there to first base and he's clapping his hands and he's engaged. You don't see a lot of that.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, and he's worked on his game. Okay, he continues to improve, which is sort of the opposite of Conforto. Nimmo was criticized about his defense. He's become a pretty good center fielder. Over the last year. He's also, instead of just trying to take a walk, there are situations where he's very aggressive and goes after the first pitch now. So he's become a much, much better ball player.
Right. And if they're going to go after Baez, and it depends who else is also available, I would say Conforto might be certainly the odd man out.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you guys, have you heard anything about the DH for next year?
Well, that has to be done. That has to be done in collective bargaining, Ralph. Although it sounds like it will be in next year.
It really does.
I think everybody's convinced it's going to be in. It can't be announced yet because that's going to be, like I said, part of the collective bargaining agreement. But I'm pretty sure it is. And if it is,
great. That's great for us too.
Yeah. Right. It's great for us. I don't think it's great for baseball, but that's just my personal opinion. But for the Mets, it's absolutely great because Smith has proved time and time again he's not a left fielder. Right. He really isn't. He's a DH, and I think given the chance to play every day as a DH and not have to worry about what's in the field will be good for his game. So it's, as you say, Marty, it's good for us. Yeah. That solves a numbers game. I look up Masinga catches every day now. Nito's hurt. McCann is hurt. Yeah. He's kind of an automatic out. It's really scary. He's that bad offensively. Do they have anybody else in the minors that's coming up to catch?
Their number one prospect is a catcher. Except he's in the low minors, though. He's not going to be ready. I think to push him ahead. Is it Alvarez, I think is his name?
Yeah, Alvarez. Power hitting catcher. Good defense.
He's
still
the
very young.
Number 10 prospect in all of baseball. Yes. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and then the other thing, we're talking about third base. They also have a couple of young guys that, are probably going to be the third baseman of the future. Do you want to bring somebody else in, or do you want to get by with, what you have for another year or two?
Well, those other guys are only in AA, though. They got to, I don't think they'll be ready for next year. We're talking about Batty or Vientos, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, they need to move up to Syracuse before, see what they can do there. They're doing really well in Binghamton.
Yes.
Very well. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have young players ready to come up, and it's just a matter of, do you want to bring in older players, or do you want to, kind of go along with what you have? If they sign Baez, all right, and you have them at second and short, then I think you make do with McNeil and with J.D. Davis for another year.
Right. That's a good point. But will J.D. Davis be the answer? I mean, fielding-wise, he's horrible at third. And he's very inconsistent. He just goes after a lot of high fastballs out of the zone, especially lately. He's been costing them.
Yeah. I would get rid of him.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. If you could improve with something, yes, absolutely. I mean, my personal opinion is that if you re-sign Baez, you put Baez at third and you keep McNeil at second. But that's not the plan that Lindor and Baez want.
No, it's not.
Right. Now, I jokingly said maybe Rojas should. I made a remark on Facebook that maybe Rojas should ask permission of Lindor to try Baez at third and McNeil at second, because Lindor hasn't seen McNeil at third like we have for the last couple of years. He doesn't have a third baseman's arm, and he's a much better second baseman. How about Guillermo? Where does he figure into it when he becomes healthy?
Just a utility infielder.
Utility guy. Yeah, he's an excellent utility guy. When he plays every day, he has a tendency to get hurt. He gets hurt a lot.
Oh yeah, you need a utility guy that can play all three positions, and he can do that.
Exactly. Yep. Now the scary thing, back when they made the trade for Baez, is that the general manager went and talked to Lindor first. Okay.
Oh, really?
And
I didn't know that.
Yes, and Lindor let out a big whoop that they heard up in the press box. So Lindor was the first one that was told about it. So that you have to wonder about that a little bit too.
It gives you an idea of how much power he has in the organization. When he's right, can you imagine when he's right, how that will improve the Mets? And that's what makes sense to me about your idea of he and Baez sparking them down the stretch. If he comes back and he comes back hitting, he's a great all-around ball player. You didn't give him $30 million for nothing.
No, he is. He most definitely is, and that's why I say I think the two of them are going to spark, a resurgence in this, these last 30 to 40 games, and it's going to be fun to watch, and we're all going to get excited again. But how does that affect the overall? You sign Baez now. If you sign Baez to a long-term contract, are you going to go through the same thing that we did with Lindor this year, where he struggles?
Right. Hey, while I'm thinking of it, Barney, what do you think of Trey Turner playing shortstop rather than second base, his natural position?
For this year, he's going to just stay at second, obviously.
Okay. But I meant long term.
Yeah, I know. The thing is, they're probably not going to sign Seager. That's what I get out of that. Or they think it's going to be, it's too much. Not that they don't want to, but how many contracts for top money are you going to keep dealing out? That's tough, and it's insurance, because if they can't sign Seager, they've got a shortstop already for next year.
Right.
Oh, and the good one, I might add, he proved that with Washington by beating the Mets consistently. And
killed us.
He's, I got to say, but who doesn't?
Right. It's too bad that, they just haven't hit in the clutch because, the Braves, they just won 9 straight, but they won 9 straight against Washington, Miami, and another bum team now I can't think of.
Well, that's got a lot of games with Washington and Miami left, too.
Yeah.
Well, after the San Francisco series starting tomorrow, the Mets have 15 straight games with just Washington and Miami. 15!
Yeah.
2 doubleheaders and 4 series equaling 15 games. One's a 5-game series because of a doubleheader.
Right.
And the Braves, for at least a little bit of that, have to play the Dodgers and somebody else good. So but they have an easy schedule too. I was looking at the schedules just to talk about the last 5 weeks or whatever, and the Phillies have an easy schedule, the Braves have an easy schedule, and the Mets don't really have that tough of a schedule. But those 15 games, if they could somehow win 2 out of 3 from the Giants, which I wouldn't mind, and then get into that 15-game, stretch, who knows what can happen. But there's a lot of bad teams.
They don't play well against Miami, especially down there. But that's got to change. It really does.
Let me ask you guys, off the subject, you mentioned Miami. What kind of a place is that to watch a baseball game? Did you enjoy? I mean, you enjoyed each other's company. You would have enjoyed any place, of course. But the stadium itself, is it good sight lines?
We could see everything very well. Yeah, it's a really nice place. The only thing is the ball just don't carry. They when the roof is closed, which it is basically all the time, the fly balls like die out there. Somebody's saying that you got to hit line drives to get them out. But every time the Mets hit something, it's like a fly ball, and it dies like before the warning track. So that's a problem. Yeah.
It's a big field. Yeah, it's a big field. It's a real nice place to see a game, except the noise. Maybe, I don't want to say, I don't want to say it's an age thing. Because we're all getting a little up there.
Yeah, it's not exactly Gladys.
Get those kids off my lawn. Did you? That come to mind?
Well, in between, it almost seems like in between every pitch, but it's in between the innings.
Yeah,
they've got speakers everywhere, and they blast this stuff. It's annoying as hell.
You really miss Gladys Gooding at that point.
Seriously.
Very loud, very loud.
And maybe all the stadiums do that now, and so, I don't know.
No, not like that. I went to a game there with my son a couple of years back, and it's very, very loud. And you guys went in, and I went. There was a fairly good crowd too. Okay.
Fairly good. Was a fairly good crowd there. It was less than 9,000, I think.
Well, that's a fairly good crowd. My son and I went and saw the Diamondbacks play the Marlins, and I think it was me, him, and 20 other people.
And that being said, if they probably would have pumped in Sunshine of Your Love or Born to Be Wild, I'd be up boogieing, but that didn't happen.
No. Seriously, what kind of music did they play? Is it a lot of
hip hop?
A lot of family music?
Loud.
When we were there, there was a lot of hip hop and a lot of salsa and a lot of Latin music.
Right, and I was half joking about the music because I like all kinds of music, but it's not even just music. Even
loud.
the announcer, it's so freaking loud. And they got the people with the microphones talking to people. It's loud. I don't know why it has to be that loud.
Yeah.
And you figure, since we're as old as we are, we can't hear that great, and it's coming in that loud, and it's really going to be loud.
Well, you should have turned down your hearing pieces, Bernie.
Well, I haven't gotten there yet.
Hey, by the way, did you guys stop by the big bobblehead display?
No, we didn't get a chance. We got there. We got there like 5 minutes before game time, basically. So, we're online to get a couple of beers, and by the time we got our 2 beers, like the first pitch was ready to be thrown. So we didn't get a chance to walk around.
What, did you guys think you were going to Dodger Stadium where you show up after the game starts and leave before the game's over?
Well, we actually should have had plenty of time, but
traffic.
When once you get no traffic, amazingly, all the way through Miami, and then when you get right to the exit where you got to get off, it's jammed up, and it took quite a while from there. And then
it was all those 9,000 people. It was all those 9,000 people trying to get in.
I guess so.
Well, it's not like a regular ballpark where they got an open parking lot. It's the middle of downtown Miami, and
right,
you have to drive through the streets and get into an indoor parking lot that's got several levels to it.
Right.
So that's a big difference, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really out in the middle of a residential area, but it's right in the middle of the city streets, and they put in a parking garage. Now, you can park in different places, you can park in gas stations, and you can park if people have little lots that, $10 park here. But we went into the garage anyway, and actually it was pretty easy getting out and getting in. But like Mert said, it took a long time just to get a beer. And I went to a game, excuse me, when I went to the Dodger game with the Marlins, it's unbelievable how long it took standing to get a good beer, because most of the regular stations just have the junk. You got to go to a beer station to get a decent beer, and there's one guy working, and it's like it took forever.
Oh, and he's got mixed drinks also, not just beers, so it's taking more time. And then somebody's got a credit card problem, and that's taking more time. No cash.
So we just went right down and sat down and watched the game. But you see pretty good there. It's a nice place for a game.
Yeah.
Probably be real nice in April, when they keep the roof open and it's not hot. Mm-hmm. But it could still be hot as hell in April, so it really probably doesn't happen much.
Okay. Pitching-wise, guys, let's get back to the Mets at hand. Let's start with Robert. Who have you been surprised and impressed by on the pitching staff?
Oh, the most surprising is your boy Billy the Hill McGill.
Right.
Even the Mets didn't know what to expect from him. It was more out of desperation. And the more I see him, the more I see Jacob deGrom in him. I mean, there's so many parallels between the two of them that if he turns out to be, half of what deGrom is, they really got themselves a winner there.
Good.
I thought Walker looked pretty good. I mean, he no-hit them for 6 innings out in in the first series, and then and he didn't look bad. He still looked good in the second series. So I don't know what happened to him after the All-Star game.
Well, the problem is, with him, and they were talking about this at the beginning of the year, he hasn't pitched very much for the last 3 years. And they were very concerned with what they were going to get out of him getting deeper and deeper in the year. And he went through that dead arm period that a lot of pitchers go through, right after the All-Star game. And the problem is, Marty will say the same thing. There's too many 5-inning pitchers on this team.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, Stroman's the only guy that you can, it's a lock to go more than 5 innings if he's on. You know, the rest of them, forget about it. Now, we lost the kid this Peterson kid looked good early in the year, and then he got hurt. I was surprised at that he looked very good, as I recall. But going toward next year, we have to see what we have in Syndergaard. We don't know yet. He hasn't pitched, and when he does come back, they're thinking about putting him in the bullpen just for an inning or two at a time and see what he's got.
Right.
So he agrees I think that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah. Well, now the other question too, the other big thing they have to decide is Stroman. Okay, Stroman's on a 1-year contract, and he's a free agent again. Right. What are you going to do with him?
Well, the guy has a great desire. He's in the ball game. He cares. And if decisions are made based on attitude, I say go for it. All things considered, he's fun to watch pitch. He's about the most interesting starting pitcher they have from game to game. Now with
shows his emotion out there. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I like that. As opposed to some guy who just get a hit off me, I don't care, that type of thing.
I'm pretty sure they'll make a bid for him. It's just a matter of you don't know what he wants and you don't know what other teams might offer. You got to see. There has to be a number that you have in mind that you won't go over. But I don't know what that is. But at least we got an owner that's got money now. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Pitchers that stayed healthy and disappointed you nonetheless. Around the horn, Robert Cole.
Pitchers that are disappointed.
Nobody stayed healthy, really.
No.
That's true.
Nobody stayed healthy. I mean, the bullpen, for the most part, was good. I was a little disappointed in May. Okay, I thought he was going to be a lot more consistent and a more guy you could depend on. He has his nights when he looks outstanding, and then he has nights where he can't get anybody out. So I was a little, if I have to show somebody disappointed, probably in him. But most of the bullpen has been good.
Yeah.
Marty.
Jeez, that's tough. I mean, with the bullpen, I think everybody's bullpen is going to be pretty much the same. Guys are good one year, not so good the next year. You always get surprises. This guy Loop has been very good.
Yes.
Lugo, when he came back from his injury, has been very good. This Smith, Don Smith, whatever his first name is, Smith. Dave, Don, something with a D. He's been very good. Familia has been himself. He has his good days and his bad days. And Diaz has mostly been very good in the saves. The other Diaz has been pretty good too. Castro was great for a while, and he was lousy for a while. He's up and down.
So, this guy May didn't look so bad this weekend either.
No, he was good for a while, and he's, but these bullpen guys, they just, after a while, they're going to lose it a little bit, because when you're hot, they're going to keep going to you, and then after a while you're going to get tired out. But that's the way bullpens are. You can't get around that. I'm not, I haven't looked up to see, the contract status of all these bullpen guys, but I think you can always build a bullpen. You can always put one together, as long as you got a good closer. But it's the starters that you got to have starters that go more than 5 innings, and you got to have at least 4 guys that you can depend on time after time. I think Walker is still signed for next year, and let's see, who's the other?
Well, you have Walker, you have McGill, naturally be signed. Peterson if he's healthy. Carrasco, I think
Carrasco has another year also.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
He does. So then you got other guys that were hurt. You just don't know how they're going to be, like Yamamoto and Peterson. You're hoping he rebounds. If he does, he could be in the rotation. So
got Gazelman. He's gonna. I don't know what his status is.
He's been on the 60-day.
Right.
So he's basically a long reliever if he's healthy. He's not a starter at all.
Right.
No.
This guy Reed they just brought in looked pretty good for a couple of. He's only pitched a few innings, but
right. They just I think that was the first time he pitched. It was in the series. They just brought him back. So every time they get an injury, it's back and forth. How many times guys are up and down between Syracuse and New York, back and forth. It's unbelievable.
Well, the Dodgers doing the same thing. They've used 38 pitchers this year. 38 pitchers. The injuries are insane.
Well, the Mets have used 61 players.
In the month of August, the Dodgers have used 26 different pitchers out of the bullpen.
That's
just
crazy.
in the month of August.
Oh, my God.
Holy
crazy.
Toledo. Holy Toledo.
Yeah.
That's... Hey,
wow.
Guys, let's stop to think and remember Rod Gilbert, who passed away earlier this week. And that, as Ranger fans, I know the Rose brothers were in those GO seats many years.
I was looking through my ticket stubs the other day, and I didn't realize how many hockey games we went to. We went to a crap load of hockey games, all in the balcony. It was like 50 cents, I think, with the GO card. 75 for the Knicks, 50 cents for the Rangers.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Yes.
But with the Rangers, you had to go up, you had to run and get your seat quickly, or you'd be stuck in the end balcony.
If you're in the side balcony, you had to stand up unless you're in the first row. You couldn't see all the ice unless you stood up, even in the second row.
Marty took me to my first hockey game. I was 12. He was 16 with the GO card. And we were upstairs in the end behind the goal. And they played the Canadians, who, of course, beat the Rangers 6-2 because the first 2 games were against Montreal, 6-2 and 6-0. But that was the early 60s. The Rangers were terrible, and Montreal was the best, but...
Oh, they were great.
But Roger, he was my first hero, hockey hero,
Yep.
And
it was great watching those guys.
Yeah.
Speaking of Montreal and Hurricanes, Hurricane Henri, they're going to rename it the Pocket Rocket. That's my hockey joke of the day.
Well,
hey,
Henri
guys.
Richard, we got you. We know.
Yes. That's right. That's right. You know, hockey is something can't follow hockey in California. Never could. It was very difficult. I befriended a California SEAL when I lived in Danville. His name was Stan Gilbertson. And
I remember Stan Gilbertson.
Yeah, he later played with Pittsburgh, and later after that, sadly ran one of those dune buggies over his leg and had to have his leg amputated. So, kind of an unhappy career-ending move for Stan Gilbertson. But I was talking to somebody. I play tennis recreationally and got pretty good at it. And I taught Stan Gilbertson to play tennis. And within 3 weeks, he was kicking my ass. I can't tell you the hand-to-eye coordination that separates an amateur athlete or, weekend warrior from a pro. These guys are incredible. And we forget when we follow these guys, they're all world-class athletes. To make it to the minor leagues, you got to be terrific. So,
yeah.
Paying these guys homage is never difficult because if you played ball as a kid, you respect these guys all your life. If you play ball like I did, you certainly respect these guys.
You're right. I'm going to have to think long and hard before I call one of these guys a bum again.
Yeah. You just tell him Ralph Tyko's out there. He still lives, and don't call any of these guys a bum.
Hey, if you want to do something on Ralph, if you want to do something on Roger Bear, get a hold of Hal Bach because he was very close to him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I do want to do something, and I'll get George Grimm in it, the hockey writer that's co-writing my book. That's all done, waiting for the button that they give me to put it in force. Thank you for that producing tip, Marty Rose.
Yep.
I didn't know they were close, and I'll contact them. I'll contact him in the next day or so.
Good.
Thanks, guys, for another great show. It's always fun. And even on days when we have to pay final respects to Rod Gilbert, just shows you how freaking old we're getting. He was 80 years old.
Yes.
That's scary. Okay, guys.
You would have thought he was older, but I know we got to go.
Yes, we would have thought all of us were older. Be well and stay healthy. Thank you for listening, everybody. Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, Mets in the Zone, Marty Rose, Robert Cole, and Bernie Rose. Thank you again. Adios, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned Network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices, and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.